DORs, what's going on? Hey, Mike Borders with the Mike Borders channel. Thank you for watching. We are working on our laundry center. It's a GE model. And in today's video, the step-by-step process on how to properly and safely replace your dryer drum belt. Let's get started. DORs, as we make our way to where the laundry center is, hey, in the event that you have ever been interested in an interior, not exterior, however, an interior clothesline, definitely check out the link down below. We'll also have a link on where to purchase it. And it is retractable, and it has two. We only have one out right now. However, right here inside there is our laundry center. Let's go and open it up and start the project. And we did just that. As you see, here is our GE laundry center, washer on bottom, dryer on top. Step number one, always safety first. Go ahead and carefully disconnect the power cord from the electrical connection in the wall or outlet. Again, safety purposes, cut all electrical power to the system prior to servicing it. Power cord disconnected, and as you do that, just be careful. Don't yank it in an offset manner and bend it, and carefully set it down where it's not going to be harmed during the remainder of the project. And from here, we are going to come down, and we have two screws, one on the left-hand side right there, and one on the right. We are going to carefully unscrew and remove those, and we are going to allow that lower panel right there in between the dryer and washer to be removed. Camera now position referencing the left-hand side screw, and carefully unscrew and remove it, and don't lose it. Set it in a safe location. The screws are about 1 inch long. Now to the right-hand screw. From here we are going to carefully lower this down and remove it. And you've got two little tabs, one on each side. You just shift it down and pull it out. Taking a step back before we continue and remove additional hardware and panels, a close-up view of the electrical wiring and motherboard. And inside there, the hot and cold water line connections and the dryer duct, in our case, feeds down and out as shown there. And coming up to, again, the dryer and lower control panel. In our case, on either side, both left and right, we have two screws. We are going to carefully remove those. 1, 2. Starting with the left side, and do not strip these screws and stay organized. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to organize or place these screws in a way when it comes time to putting everything back together, I put the same screws back in the same holes. Now to the left side. Taking a step back, we are going to carefully open up the dryer door, and inside here, in our case, two additional Phillips screws. We are going to carefully remove those. Another step back, and before we actually remove that control panel, I want to show you down below, there is no hardware that secures this panel on the bottom side, just little tabs, as you see here, that loop in and grab a hold of the aluminum frame. Be mindful as you remove this, don't break those. Next, I'm going to place my hand right here. In DIYers, you do have the choice of removing the dryer handle or knob before removing the hardware. However, just grab a hold of it and pull it off. As shown there. You don't actually have to remove the washer knob. From here, I'm going to come to the back side where we remove the screws and pull out and simultaneously push up and try to remove this panel from the lower tabs. As you see there, let it carefully lower and maneuver it in a way where you can remove it from the little slots. Inside here you have electrical connections, and if we just carefully rest it down without allowing too much harm or weight on the electrical wiring, we won't actually have to remove any of the connections. And again, just shift it in a way where there is little to no weight on the connection and wiring. From here, I'm going to carefully close the door. And we're now going to remove the two top Phillips screws as shown here, as well as down below the additional 1/4 inch screws. And DORs, these are about 3 inches long. Now to the right side. Back to the 1/4 inch bit on the screwdriver, and again, remove the two lower 1/4 inch screws. And these are much smaller. Now to the right side. Coming back up top, and again, 5 screws, and in our case, the black ones do have a Phillip cut to them, however, a 1/4 inch head. just like the aluminum ones. Go ahead and carefully remove all 5 of those. And I've transitioned to the 1/4 inch as shown here. Got the camera positioned. We are now going to shift this entire front dryer panel and door up and away from the shell or housing of the dryer. And on the back side in this location, we have 3 electrical connections. And as you pull this panel out, just be mindful not to damage those wires. I'm going to grab hold of it right here and shift up on either side. And carefully lower it and lock it in place with your body. And here are the 3 connections, 1 and then 2 on the right hand side. Let me scroll in. As you see right here, I'm going to start with this one and push in on the back side and remove it. As shown there, same thing. Inside here, there is a compression tab. Push it and carefully pull the 2 apart. Do not pull it by the wiring. That would not be good. There's number 2 and number 3. 1, 2, and 3 from here. Ever so carefully pull the entire panel away from the dryer and laundry center. With the entire front dryer panel removed, there's the dryer drum and a quick view of the 3 electrical connections, 1 on the left and the 2 on the right hand side. Panel now fully removed from the laundry center. As you see here, personal preference to protect the face or front portion of the panel and paint. Lay it on something soft. Back to the laundry center, and there is our entire dryer drum, and in our case our dryer drum belt is still intact, as you see right there. Coming down in here where we can gain access to the idle pulley. As you see right there, the dryer belt loops around the top portion of that pulley and then down and loops around the motor pulley and then back up and around the entire dryer drum. What we're going to do next, come down below and loosen up that clamp that secures the ductwork to the exhaust chute that shoots the exhaust out of the home. And I did just that. Do not get discouraged with this step. If you have access to it, it is a very friendly step. DIYers, from here, we are going to ever so carefully shift the entire laundry center out so we can gain access to a rear panel where we can remove that belt. To an update, I spent about 5 minutes and shifted the entire laundry center out of the room it tucks into, and ever so carefully without damaging or scratching the tile floor. And inside the room, it was very dusty. I went ahead and vacuumed it up. And in the event that you ship your laundry center out of the room with the water lines and drain hose still connected, just be careful. Do not put any harm or stress or tension on those parts. Coming inside to the back of the laundry center, we are now standing inside the room again. The drain hose and water lines that feed inside here. And this small little access panel, a 1/4 inch screw, we're going to loosen up and remove that and open up that panel. Camera now in position again, a 1/4 inch screw, go ahead and carefully remove that. And your access panel can shift right out of those slots right there. Taking a step back in DIYers, hopefully your access panel is much larger in this exact location. In our case, the only purpose this serves is a sight view to ensure that the belt itself is properly routed and looped around the motor pulley as shown there. However, hopefully yours is an entire access panel where you can remove and fit your entire hand inside here to ensure that you can properly loop that belt around the idle pulley and the motor. But we can't. So we're going to come over here. I remove the 1/4 inch screw, carefully remove that, and we're going to come inside here where we can then gain access to the entire belt, idle pulley, and see how it's looped around the motor, as shown there. I now have the camera position looking inside at the motor pulley, and the belt has tension. I'm going to shift it up here, and again you can see the idle pulley up here, and by shifting it back you can release the pressure on that belt, and I'm going to do that right now. Loop it around as you see, just like that, and ever so carefully allow the idle pulley to extend back up. The belt is loose, look at that. We'll go back up top and remove it fully. However, coming inside here, And the idle pulley with that black shaft or bar spring loads up as shown there. We're back out front. I'm going to carefully reach up and remove the belt. And do your absolute best to go slow. Don't catch it on anything. And DIYers, your actual laundry center may have a design or mount or hook right here where you have to push up on the dryer and clear that little brace. If that's the case, be careful as you do it. And that is a very long belt. And again, in our case, ours did not snap. However, it was beginning to slip and it needs to be replaced. Again, look at the size of that thing. Making our way to the table, and on the right hand side is our brand new OEM dryer belt. Down below in the comments and description will be a link on where to purchase that. In addition, in the event that your dryer is ever leaving black marks on your clothes or towels or sheets, it is a worn out felt pad. Down below in the comments and description will be a link on how to properly replace this felt pad, as well as a link to the OEM part. Time to open up the belt and get it installed. Here it is removed from the packaging. I do want to point out the texture on the outside, as you see here, is different than the inside. The inside is ribbed, and that is the side that will mate with the dryer drum itself. And this will always be visible on the outside. Back to the dryer, and again, if you've got that upper brace, you will have to push up on the drum and allow that gap to incur so you can fit the belt on. However, in our case, we do not have that. We're going to carefully insert the belt and shift it all the way back. And again, make sure that the rib portion of the belt is mating with the drum. Coming up to the top portion of the drum and referencing the belt, you want to position it all the way back. And if you look closely, you can see a wear ring around the back portion of the drum, and that is where the old belt was properly positioned. You want it positioned in the exact same location, not in these grooves right here. Back behind the dryer and looking through our very small sight view, I'm going to grab the belt and loop it around the motor pulley. The pulley itself also has a slot that the belt goes through, and ensure that you got it in that slot, which as you see, I do. I'm now going up top and shifting the idle pulley down and looping the belt around it. Coming inside to an update, as you can see, the dryer belt is properly routed around the idle pulley and motor pulley. And the way I did this, I came in first with my left hand and arm, grabbed a hold of that black shaft or bar and carefully pulled it toward me and down. And at the same time, I came in with my right hand and right arm over my left arm and grabbed the belt and looped it around that idle pulley. And from here, just double check everything, and if all looks good, you may want to clean some lint or any dust that you don't want in there. I will secure both of the rear panels. However, first, back to the front, before I secure those back access panels, I'm going to turn the dryer drum 2 full rotations or revolutions. From here, I'll go up top, inspect the belt, as well as inspect the belt in the rear, where it's looped around the idle pulley and motor pulley. Coming up top, all looks good, as you see. And you may find it easier or more friendly to access that pulley and belt to pull it on and put it back on through this little access area here. To the rear, coming back inside here, and one last inspection again before we re-secure all the panels. And all looks good. Making progress, both panels are on. Back out front in DIYers, if all looks good, we can then carefully reshift the entire laundry center back inside the utility room here. Be mindful, don't damage the ductwork, the drain hose, the water lines, and don't get the power cord caught underneath the center. That would not be good. Laundry center is shifted back inside the utility room, again ever so carefully without damaging or scratching the floor. Followed by reshifting the ductwork back on the chute that feeds the exhaust outside. And we're going to discard the old belt. In addition, we are filming another video on replacing the felt pad, as we just mentioned. And there it is, removed. What I did next was install that brand new felt pad. And look how nice that looks. Much nicer. Time to reinstall this entire front panel and electrical connections and put everything back together. We're back at the Laundry Center DIYers. This is a unique step because again, you have to re-secure the entire front panel and you've got those 3 electrical connection points. However, earlier in the project when we removed the electrical connections from each other and pulled the entire panel off, at no point did we remove this bottom panel or inner aluminum panel, and to hold it in place, it's just 2 1/4-inch screws on the bottom. And basically, by keeping this in place, it will likely require us to connect the 3 electrical connections before we shift that panel up and into place on the upper locks. However, that will restrict you depending on your exact manufacturer model, whether you have a Frigidaire, GE, Samsung. Again, you may not have the clearance once you are connected to fully shift the panel up and lock it on the top locks, as well as insert it in these little tabs here or slots. To a different camera angle, I am going to remove this panel. Camera now positioned directly at the dryer drum, and time to carefully reinsert and secure the front panel and door. And secure the screws. Taking a step back, DIYers, that takes patience. Just don't damage anything. And most important thing, the top part is looped as shown here over the aluminum panel, and the side hooks are grabbing a hold of the panel. And then you've got lower prongs down here on either side. It's in place, however, time to re-secure the hardware. We will start up top with 5 screws. Starting with the far left, and just be careful, ensure that the holes are properly aligned and do not over tighten these. And I'll go all the way to this side, to the middle. Coming down from the top 5 screws are properly secured. The next 2 screws we secured were the long screws, and you may need to come in under and around to the back side and properly guide this long screw to the inner aluminum hole where it secures to. Again, one on each side. From here, I'm going to re-secure all 3 electrical connections and ensure they are locked in place as shown here. And all 3 are locked in place. We can then tuck these away and re-secure that lower panel that we removed to gain better access to the wiring. And we've got this electrical connection point, and during the project, believe it or not, our connection point came disconnected. Just double check the overall condition of it, re-secure it, and this part goes through that little prong here. Be careful as you do that. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4 prongs or hooks go inside their respective slots. And if all looks good, you can carefully shift this up and monitor the wiring and connection points as you do that. We are going to carefully open the door and secure it. As shown there, again, 2 screws in here and 2 screws on each side, both right and left on the outer sides. And DIYers, don't forget the lower corner screws that secure the lower portion of this panel in place, as you see right there. Taking a step back before we secure the lower panel, grab your dryer selector knob and position it, the line, at the off, and take note of the shape of it. As shown there, coming in with the lower panel. And it's a good time to check one last time all electrical connections and wiring are properly secured and not damaged or pinched. And shift this up into its slot on each side, as shown there, and secure it with each of the screws. I will hand tighten them first. Do not over tighten these. Another step back in DIR is a very important step. Just double check everything before you re-secure power and run a test cycle. And as you can see, the power cord reconnected, and we've got an additional power cord. And I want to show you what that is. Right there. DORs, there it is. And down below in the comments and description will be a link on how to hang a neon sign. And that is a gift from my younger brother Miles. We love it. And again, DORs, that's it. We hope this helps. Do us a favor below the video. You will see that thumbs up icon. Click on that, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Definitely ring your YouTube bell. That would be very helpful to us. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching.